The Doctor Strange sequel, titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, will hit theaters on May 2021. The movie will take us on a journey to yet another dimension, the Dream Dimension. It's a fascinating place and is ruled by the Dark Overlord, Nightmare. It's confirmed that Nightmare will be the primary villain of the movie. So today we are going to discuss Nightmare powers and origin and how he fits in the MCU. There have been some theories that a Scarlet Witch might also turn to the dark side, as she would find it impossible to deal with all the trauma of her past, be it the death of her parents or the death of his only brother Quicksilver or death of her lover Vision. If that turns out to be the case, then it will be Nightmare who would torment a Scarlet Witch in her dreams and use her to fight Doctor Strange. But to understand how will that play out, let's first understand the villain Nightmare.
Why was she up there all this time?
Nightmare is the overlord of Dream Dimension who feeds on the human species' need to dream. If humans stop dreaming, then Nightmare will cease to exist. But at the same time, the human race will go insane. So to put it in other words, humans have to dream. That's a basic need just like food and water. Thus Nightmare is the necessary evil. By now you might have concluded that Nightmare can't be truly destroyed. Yes, he can be defeated, but you can't kill him forever without killing every living creature that dreams. In Marvel Comics, Nightmare is a class 3 demon, so he's not as powerful as Hell Lords like Hela and Mephisto, who are some of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. Nightmare doesn't fight explicitly, that is, he won't take on the superheroes like Thanos. Rather, he plays a proxy game where he makes somebody else do the fighting for him, and that is where the role of a Scarlet Witch kicks in. We know that the upcoming WandaVision series on Disney Plus will debut in early 2021, and it will lead directly to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. WandaVision is described by Marvel to be the perfect setting that Wanda and Vision could have ever hoped for. It sounds too good to be true, because in reality it is. The entire show might just be Wanda's dream, where she is being manipulated by the Nightmare. But that said, in the comics, Scarlet Witch has reality wrapping powers, and she could create a whole new reality that is perfect for her and Vision. And it might be this messing up with the reality and order of things that creates an anomaly and fracture in the space-time. The source of Scarlet Witch powers is also mystical in nature, just like Doctor Strange. And as we know, she got her powers from the Mind Stone, which was one of the 6 Infinity Stones. But now that all these stones are destroyed, we haven't seen the consequences of that. Remember in Avengers Endgame, the Ancient One told Bruce Banner that Infinity Stones help protect the reality as a whole. But since they no longer exist in the MCU, we will find out what adverse effects it has on the reality in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And since Wanda was closely linked to the Mind Stone, the destruction of that stone might also affect her mental state, making her go insane. And the destruction of these stones might be another reason that Nightmare finds it convenient to invade this realm. Just like Thanos waited till the death of Odin and the Ancient One to collect all the 6 Infinity Stones. Even though Nightmare might not sound like a dangerous guy, he is nigh omnipotent, nigh omniscient, and nigh omnipresent being, who at one point had even captured the Eternity, thus leading to the destruction of Earth. However, the Earth was later remade by the Eternity itself. Nightmare is a genius level demon who has a deep knowledge about almost everything that there is. He also possesses energy projecting abilities and is almost indestructible. If that was not enough, he grows stronger and more powerful as he harvests the fear of humans. So more terrified the human race is, the more powerful Nightmare becomes. For example, right after Thanos' snap, the entire world was in chaos and in the grip of horror, and it is at times like this that Nightmare is at his strongest. But that said, Nightmare can't really come out of the dream dimension into the real world. He operates from his own dimension, as he captures the astral form of people who are dreaming and brings that to his own dimension for torturing or to get whatever he needs from them. While the astral form of the person is captured in the dream dimension, the physical body continues to lie unconscious and is vulnerable in the real world. And to avoid exactly this, Doctor Strange always casts a spell before he goes to sleep, as not even the Sorcerer Supreme is immune to the attacks of Nightmare. It's not very easy to defeat Nightmare either. You can't really destroy him. The best that you can do is banish him back to his dream dimension, just like Dormammu, who too is almost indestructible, and the best that heroes can do is send him back to the dark dimension. However, if you are someone who has conquered all your fears, just like the Daredevil, then Nightmare can't really harm you. As in the comics, Daredevil was able to defeat the Nightmare in the dream dimension, where Nightmare is at his strongest. So this is one weakness of the Nightmare. If you have no fear, then Nightmare is just like an everyday thug to you. Apart from that, Nightmare won't affect you while you're awake. He can only torment people in their sleep. And he even has a cousin named Dweller in the Darkness. He's another prominent villain who destroyed the Marvel Universe, which existed before this current universe. You see, Marvel Universe has been destroyed multiple times and then has been recreated again and again. The universe that existed before this was destroyed by Dweller in the Darkness. He planned to harvest the fear of trillions of people around the universe. But sadly for him, the Phoenix Force took over the minds of all those beings in the universe and helped them die in peace. Now that further showcases you how powerful the Phoenix Force really is. Who else can do such a universal feat, reaching out to all the minds in the universe and bringing them to peace as they watch the universe's end? I have done a separate video on why Phoenix Force is the most powerful entity in the Marvel's Omniverse. The link to that will be in the upper right corner. Dweller in Darkness is a very powerful being who has existed before this universe and continues to in the current one. Just like Nightmare, he too feeds upon the fear of other beings. And along with Nightmare, he too is a part of a group called Fear Lords, which is a group of beings who feed upon the fear of other creatures. In the current universe, Dweller creates a number of beings who terrify humans and thus increases his own powers. He even tormented the Atlanteans, and when the great city sank, Dweller in Darkness became more powerful than ever. Finally, an Atlantean sorcerer, along with Agamotto, the first sorcerer supreme of Earth, banished him back to his own dimension. But in the end, the Dweller had his revenge as he creates a being to kill the Atlantean sorcerer. The Dweller in Darkness, even though he is a Nightmare's cousin, they hardly have anything brotherly between them, and often they are at dispute with each other, trying to manipulate one another for personal gains. But then again, what else would you expect of demons? Other than a cousin, Nightmare also has two daughters. One is the evil one called Dream Queen, and the other one is more benevolent named Daydream. She often helps the Avengers and other superheroes in fight against her father, Nightmare. Nightmare has tormented many superheroes, from Spider-Man to Hulk. He had been torturing Hulk for years with hallucinations, misdirections and manipulations of reality. This distress often sent Hulk on a violent rampage where he destroyed everything that lay in his path. Something similar to what we saw in Avengers Age of Ultron, where a Scarlet Witch manipulated Hulk's mind, making him go berserk. And it was finally Tony Stark in Hulkbuster suit who managed to contain the unstoppable Hulk. In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it seems like karma is going to catch up to Scarlet Witch, where she would be the one who would be manipulated by the all-powerful Nightmare. And after Scarlet Witch realizes what a perfect life she could have had with Vision, she would lose control, thus becoming a universal threat. After all, in the comics, Scarlet Witch had changed things even on the multiversal level. As in the House of M storyline, she wipes out almost all the mutants from the face of Earth by just uttering 3 infamous words: no more mutants. So it seems like we are all set to see the most powerful MCU version of Scarlet Witch in the upcoming Doctor Strange 2, and we can't be more excited to see how that looks like. How will the Sorcerer Supreme manage to overcome such a raw unleash of her powers? It is sure going to be a fascinating thing to look out for. And let's not forget the fact that the movie is going to be the first MCU horror movie, and it makes sense since the main villain of the movie is literally the Nightmare, who will feed upon the fear of the beings who are terrified of the Scarlet Witch posing an unprecedented threat to the world and the universe as a whole. This will be terrifying as hell, but at the same time would be truly awesome to see a Scarlet Witch wielding this unprecedented power level like she's supposed to. So if you think that Avengers Endgame Scarlet Witch was too powerful, then wait for this one. And since she is going to be nigh unstoppable, it will take Doctor Strange more than just his magic to contain her. I think at the end of the movie, it will be Doctor Strange's intelligence that saves him and the universe, as he somehow manages to expose Nightmare's true intention to this unstoppable version of a Scarlet Witch, and she finally realizes what truly needs to be done and directs all her powers at Nightmare, thus banishing him back to his dimension forever. Since no other Avengers are likely to be involved in this movie, it makes sense to assume that either it takes place within a day or somewhere in the other realm, most probably the Dream Dimension. With the introduction of Nightmare in Doctor Strange 2, Marvel is heading toward building the Marvel mythos. With time, it is obvious to expect that we will see more demons and pantheons of gods being introduced in the MCU. The Eternals movie is another step in that direction, introducing us to the Celestials and the very beginning of the MCU. So moving forward, we should expect Mephisto to make an MCU appearance sooner than later, and finally we will see those deals with the devils being made. However, there is always a chance that Mephisto could be introduced in the very same movie, and we might see the Sorcerer Supreme making some deal with the devil to save the reality from the likes of Nightmare. In the comics, Doctor Strange and even Spider-Man have made deals with Mephisto, so it would be great to see that being played out on the big screen. It goes without saying that Mephisto is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. But luckily for humans, devils have this bizarre restriction put upon them by even higher powers that they can neither harm humans nor can make somebody do something for them. Which is why we have this thing called Deal with the Devil, where the user sacrifices something, generally his soul, in exchange for virtually anything that he can imagine of. But we don't yet have official confirmation regarding the appearance of Mephisto in the upcoming Doctor Strange 2. However, we do know that Nightmare will pull some strings to invade this reality, and he might end up manipulating a Scarlet Witch to do his bidding. So that's it for today. With that, we'll bring this video to an end. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming content.